Okay, fourth class. So for the next 2 weeks, we will be moving on to the topic of division. Now, division has come up a lot in our mental maths and in different topics in your planet maths as well, but it's going to be our main focus in maths for the next 2 weeks. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about is how similar division actually is to multiplication. And we've spent a lot of time working on our multiplication tables and our long multiplication as well. So I'm going to put up a simple multiplication table that you all know. So we have 2 times 6 equals 12. Okay, so that's a nice simple one. But if we go underneath, we have 12 divided by 6 equals 2. So if you look closely at all the numbers in these two sums, they are all the exact same, but they're in a different order. So this shows us how multiplication and division are the opposites of each other. So the division sum is in reverse of the multiplication sum. We have 2 times 6 equals 12. 12 divided by 6 equals 2. And that's a good way to check your answers when you're doing all your division worksheets over the next 2 weeks. So division comes up a lot in your everyday life. So if you were trying to share pizza between yourself and your friends, or maybe some sweets at a party, you might want to share them evenly. And it also comes up in school. So we have 15 children in the class, and I might want to get you all into teams of 3. So I would have 15 divided by 3. So I know I have 3 people in each team, but I don't know how many teams I'm going to have all together. So the way that I could do that is I'm going to draw out the total number of children. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So each star represents a child in the class. And now I'm going to get you into groups of 3. So 1, 2, 3, this is the first group. 1, 2, 3, this is the second group. 1, 2, 3, we have the third group. 1, 2, 3, the fourth group. And 1, 2, 3, the fifth group. Now, this is how I know that 3 divides evenly into 15, because if we had a few stars left over, so 1 or 2 stars left over, we would have a remainder. But we don't in this case because 3 is a multiple of 15. So how many groups do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 groups altogether and 5 groups of 3 altogether, and that gave me 15. So that's how to do your sums. Now, this is just a simple way to get you started. So if you're finding them difficult, you can just draw out the total number of whatever it is, if it's sweets, if it's children, and then divide it into the groups, okay? So now we're going to look at our worksheet for Monday, and I'm going to help you through it. So here's factors. So we mightn't have heard of the term factors before. We have factors are numbers that divide into another number evenly with no remainder. So it's important that there's no remainder. So for example, 3 divides into 12 4 times. So 3 and 4 are factors of 12. So I'm going to color in the factors of 12 just so we know what we're doing. Okay, so 3 and 4 are both factors of 12 because we can say 3 times 4 gives us 12. Another number that divides in evenly is 2, because 12 is an even number, so that means it can be split in half with no remainder. So 2 times something gives us 12. So whatever this number is also a factor, and I know it's 6. So 2 and 6 are also factors of 12. And another factor that's going to come up in every single number is 1. So 1 is a factor of every number, because you can say 12 divided by 12 equals 1, 8 divided by 8 equals 1, 20 divided by 20 equals 1. So in this case, 1 goes into 12 times, so 1 times 12 is 12. But now, if we look at the 5, and I'm trying to work out whether 5 is a factor of 12. So I'm going to count in 5s, and if I land on 12, then it is a factor. And if I don't land on 12, then it's not. So 5 10, 15. Oh, I've already gone past the 12. So 5 isn't a factor of 12. Sometimes it might come up in a sum. It might say divide 12 by 5, but that would mean you would have a remainder because it doesn't divide in evenly. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the next part. Well, this is exactly it all over again. So you have your 12s that we worked on already. That's your example. And then you have your 16. So find out the factors of 16, 20, 24, and 40. And there's the 100 square to help you out. So the next part, it says 6 groups of 12. So the first step, you need to draw the 6 groups of 12. So I've drawn circles to represent it. So we've 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, 6 groups. And I knew each group had to have 2 in it, and there had to be 6 groups. And now to find out the answer, I would add up all of the dots to find it out. Now, you can see here the addition sentence of that would be 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 12, because multiplication is basically repeated addition. So then our multiplication sentence would be 2 times 6 equals 12, and our division sentence would be the opposite. So 12 divided by 6 equals 2. Okay, so now we're on to Tuesday's work. So it starts off very similar to the last activity on Monday. So we have 8 times 2 equals something, and something divided by 2 equals 8. So if you know your 8 or your 2 times tables, you'll know this. So 8 times 2 equals 16. And then it's the exact same backwards. So we have 16 divided by 2 equals 8. Now, it's a good way to check your answer. So if I said quickly 8 times 2 equals 20, and then I went on to this one and said 20 divided by 2, and I realized, wait, 20 divided by 2 is not 8. So I would know I went wrong. So you can use the 2 sums to check your answers there. And then here we have just more division sums. So a good way to do these is, so 30 divided by 6. So I would count in my 6s. And once I landed on 30, so say if I was counting in 6s like 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. So how many times have I counted? So 5 times. So I know it's 30 divided by 6 equals 5. Okay, so the next activity, number 3, it has, the first question is 24 stars. And there are 4 groups of stars, and you have to work out how many stars are in each group. So 24 divided by 4 is 6. So that's how I know there's 6 stars in each group. So you do the exact same for all these here. But the next one is a bit different because there is a remainder. So the or stands for remainder. Now, at the start, they had to draw 27 stars. And just looking at this, I would know it doesn't divide in evenly because 4 is not a factor of 27. So I have to go to the next closest number in my 4s. So I would go 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So I've counted 6 times. So 6 is your answer here. But then there is a remainder because we only made it to 24. So to work out your remainder, you'd say 27 take away 24, and that gave us 3. So that means there are 3 left over. So imagine this was your class. You had 27 in your class, and you had to get it into 4 different groups. It would mean that there'd be 3 left over because there isn't enough people to have a 5th group, okay? So that's what you do for the next few. So make sure you go to the closest number below the number there, right? Okay, so number 5, this is for Thursday. So first of all, I would just look at the numbers. So if you're printing this out, I would put a circle around the numbers that are important. But if not, you can just keep them in your head. So 45 is important. And then each car does have 4 wheels, but every car has a spare wheel as well. So that gives them 5 wheels each. So you need to work out how many cars are in the car park. So basically the sum would be 45 divided by 5. And the same, you can work out 6 and 7 yourselves. Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit harder with our layout in our division questions. So we're trying to find out how many times 3 goes into 48. So the way to do this is you break it down. So you're going to see how many times 3 actually goes into 4. So another way to think of this is, say if I have 4 sweets and there are 3 children who want to share them. How many sweets are they going to get each? They're going to get 1 sweet, but there's also going to be 1 left over. So I'm going to put the number of sweets left over here, and it's going to join the next part. Then I'm going to say 3 divides into 18 how many times? So if you want to skip counting your 3's until you hit 18, you know it is 6. So 3 goes into 48 16 times. Now for the next question, part B, you're going to do the exact same. So you're going to break it down. You're going to see how many times 4 goes into 7. So 4, it doesn't quite go in twice because then this number would have to be 8. So 4 goes into 7 once, but this time there are 3 left over. So now I'm going to see how many times 4 goes into 32. So I'm going to do my skip counting in 4s. So I'll go 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. Okay, so after 8 counts, I've landed on 32. So my answer is 18. And you're going to do the same for all the rest of these, and you can use my example to help you out. So